Everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we have some good racing tomorrow and some interesting races. Certainly some that we're going to keep an eye on going forward. And I will actually talk about some of those later on in the video. But we'll start off with those horses that I am going to be having bets on. Starting off in the 115 at Haydock. If you've been following my emails, you'll know who I will be backing here. And that is Beat the Bat. Now I'm leaving the ratings open. You can see that Beat the Bat is top rated. I'm leaving them open for this race. Actually, if you want to get ratings for the rest of November, there is actually an offer in the email that has been sent out today. I'll send it out again tomorrow, later this evening as well, about how you can get the free ratings, or you can get a upgrade to premium for the rest of the month. And also a discount for one of the best racing publications around. Anyway, back to my selections. So Beat the Bat, I thought his form last year was very good. I was really quite impressed with some of his performances. He started off finishing second to Massacio at Chepstow in a race that I thought Beat the Bat actually looked the best horse in the run. They beat Holy Smoke, who is a horse that's definitely going to win a handicap in the near future. Only beaten 3/4 of a length was Beat the Bat by Massacio, who has since come out and won over fences. Is now rated, what's he rated over fences? He's now rated 137 over fences. Beat the Bat runs off 132. Even if we went purely on that, 3/4 of a length, would he be better than 132? Well, Massacio is probably still better than 137. I think Beat the Bat can improve on that 132 mark. He then went to Ascot and beat Welcome to Cartrice in a race that I think I was on Welcome to Cartrice that day. He'd set a really high R figure. He then came out and won Welcome to Cartrice. I think it was back at Ascot. Just having a look at my other screen. He did. He went back to Ascot, slightly up in trip, came out and won. Then went to Doncaster, finished second in a Grade 2. Whilst the fourth place horse that day, Champagne Twist, has also come out and won. I think he's won a Grade 2 himself. He finished second at Cheltenham behind Peaky Boy. He then won at Doncaster in a maiden hurdle. He then won at Sandown in the novices handicap final. Really good performances. Was Champagne Twist, really good performance. I thought that was a great effort from Beat the Bat to beat the right horses. Now, Beat the Bat then dropped in trip and went for another novices hurdle and got beat. He only got beat 2 3/4 lengths. They were 11 lengths clear of the rest. And he got beat by Dysart Enos, trying to give that horse £7. Only beaten 2 3/4 lengths. Well, Dysart Enos has since come out and finished third in the Greatwood, in a very good Greatwood. I think the Greatwood's going to work out quite nicely this year. Beat the Bat looks like he is well handicapped, and I think he'll be in better races than this towards the end of the season. And I certainly think he's above 140 towards the end of the season. So currently rated 132. I think he can overcome his layoff. He hasn't run for 344 days, but he was only just beaten by Massacio on his return, which I think was fine. I think he's the one to beat here, I really do. Currently available at, let's load up prices so they are live. Currently available at 9-2. I think he is the one to beat. The race that is actually working out really well is Josh the Boss's Silver Trophy win, and we'll come back to that shortly. I'd probably suggest that Josh the Boss is the biggest danger in this race, which is shown up by the current odds. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Beat the Bat, and at 9-2, I am having a bet on him. Moving on to the 230, I'm going to have 2 in this race, and beginning of the week, I actually said I felt there was another Nicky Henderson style Peaky Boy in this race. What I meant by that was, last week, Nicky Henderson had 3 in a race. I think it was 3. It might have been 4. It was 3. He had Lucky Place and Barloo and Peaky Boy in a novice handicap chase. He didn't run 2 of them. He only ran Peaky Boy, and I said, whichever one he runs, basically, will win. Peaky Boy did win. I I think Dan Skelton had the same here. Whichever one he ran, I think would win. However, he is running 3 of them. He's running Doyen Quest, Catch Him Derry, and Gwenny May Boy. Now, I think they all come into it with good form and very clearly massively progressive, all of them. Harry's chosen to ride Doyen Quest, and if we just look at the ratings are open for this one as well. We can see that he's been setting some really nice R figures, and also last time out was a very impressive R figure. Obviously he carries a penalty. He carries a £5 penalty, but should have gone up £11. And to be honest, when I watched that race back that he won at Cheltenham, he won it so impressively, didn't he? Like Harry was so calm on him. Winning off 125 was clearly not beyond him. He would have won off 130. He would have won off 135, I think, that day. And he beat the right horses. Gal Road had finished 3rd in a Pertemps final. Noble Birth, thanks for the help. I think he beat the right horses that day, and he beat them comfortably. They are stepping up slightly in trip. I think that'll be fine. But the way he actually won on his first start over the near 3 mile trip demonstrated that actually over 3 mile he could be way ahead of his mark. I thought it was a really, really impressive performance from Doyen Quest, and I think he will take all of the beating tomorrow. And he is currently available at, let's have a look. He's available at 11-4. I think that's the right price. I think he should be. I think he could go off shorter than that even. His first run over this near 3 mile, what he'd been doing over 2 may well have been a bonus. It really might. It might have been that he was good enough to win over 2. He's even better over 3. I think he's gonna. Yeah, I think he's gonna end up in he's gonna end up in a graded race after this, isn't he? Something like the Long Walk back at Cheltenham, I imagine. Is the Long Walk at Cheltenham, or is it that at Ascot? The Long Walk is where I think he'll end up. He might go for the Cleve Hurdle, obviously, as well. Who do I think is the danger? Now, I've just mentioned that I like the Dan Skelton horses, but I do wonder whether their form is quite as strong as something else in this race. And Gwenny May Boy has been chosen by Charlie Todd, or I think Charlie Todd probably gets 3rd choice in this race, and I feel that Gwenny May Boy may need the run. Catch Him Derry I think is improving, but I don't know whether he's quite got the same level of form as some of the others in this race. I think the horse that could be very interesting at a bigger price that I'm also going to just cover just in case is this one down here, Patriotic. Patriotic actually finished 5th last time out in the Silver Trophy won by Josh the Boss. Now, Josh the Boss won it. Doyen Quest was 2nd. Doyen Quest has obviously since come out and won. 3rd was Take No Chances, come out and won. 4th was Lowry's Bar, come out and finished 2nd when really well supported, beaten by our top rated horse Jaguar. 6th was Tighten Our Belts, has come out and won. Affadil actually runs later today. Active Authority was 9th, has come out and won twice. Even going right back to the last couple of positions, 16th was American Sniper, has come out and won. And pulled up was Irish Hill, has come out and won. The race has really worked out strongly already. Which kind of, very interesting for Krabilly, wherever they do run him. But going back to tomorrow, if you watch Patriotic that day, held up out the back, struggling, stayed on nearest at the finish, goes from 2 mile 3 back up to 3. They obviously felt that the step up in trip would be ideal. Has won a point to point back in January of 2024. And eventually last season they did step up to 2 miles 6 in a novice hurdle where they did get beat. They finished 2nd, a Magical Escape. But may well just have needed the run. Not needed the run. May well have needed that more experience under rules for Evan Williams. Now, back up to 3 mile, running off a very lightweight 10 stone 5, rated 120. Isabel takes 3 off. I think the horse could really appreciate this step up in trip. And that's the danger I feel really to Doyen Quest here is Patriotic at 12s. He's the one I'm most worried about against Doyen Quest if I'm if the return is a little bit quick for Doyen Quest. I don't think it will be. I think they'll be fine. But I think Patriotic will also run a really nice race tomorrow. We move on to the 340, and you'll notice I've now hidden all the ratings for the rest. Who do I like in the 340? Lemilos. Why do I like Lemilos? Well, he's actually running off a £2 lower mark than when winning the Coral Trophy a couple of years ago. Coral Trophy, the Coral Gold Cup. When winning the Coral Gold Cup, he won it off 146 and he went off 9-2 favourite that day. Tomorrow, he's going to run off 144 in an easier race over the same distance, pretty much. And he's actually at a bigger price currently. He's available at 6s. I think he's going to take all of the beating. I watched his last run at Cheltenham. We were on Senior Chief, the winner that day. I think the right horses were at the front. The third is favourite for the Coral Trophy this year, the Coral Gold Cup, sorry. Lemilos ran a really big race for a long way, and I was worried about 2 out that he was going to get involved. 3 out, I think. I was worried he was going to get involved and potentially ruin his chances going forward. Like, not today, I don't want it to be today for Lemilos. He didn't. He ended up fading, and he dropped £3. I think that's a massive drop for this horse, and yeah, I really like Lemilos tomorrow. I think they will be trying to win this. I thought they could have entered him in the what race did I think? The Coral Gold Cup itself. They didn't. I'm hoping, as you know, that's because they've got Midnight River all lined up for that. Lemilos comes here instead to this race at Haydock. I think he will take all of the beating here, to be honest. I think I know he's got to give weight away to the favourite, but I think this is such a much easier race, even compared to last time when he ran well for 5th. If you go back to some of his previous efforts, they would be good enough to win this, in my opinion. And I think at 6s, I'm very happy to get on Lemilos. We move on. Ascot 205, the 3 mile 5 handicap chase, the Berkshire National. Again, if you've been following my emails and my videos, you'll know exactly who I'm going to be on here. Kitty's Light. So Kitty's Light, let's just load up the prices. The 205. Did that work? It did. Currently available at... They've initially opened at 5, so I think we'll get about that from a lot of the other bookmakers. If we can get bigger, great. We will hang on and just see what prices we can get. So, Kitty's Light is running off a mark of 140 with Harry Cobden on board. I'm very pleased that Harry's been booked to ride. Obviously, Jack is taken by David Pipe, so isn't riding. Harry's a very, very good stand-in, isn't he? He also rides Ascot pretty well. Back to a mark of 140. The last time this horse ran off 140, he was winning the Bet365 Gold Cup and he was winning the Scottish National. The only negative for me about Kitty's Light is whether 3 mile 5 is quite far enough for him now. A little bit further would be perfect. If this was over 4, I'd be really confident of Kitty's Light. It's not, it's over 3 mile 5. Harry just needs to keep the horse involved. They've generally tried to stay away from soft and heavy going. It's only good. The ground is fine, has had a couple of runs to get the horse back to fitness, and has also dropped nicely in the handicap because of that. Went to Chepstow, I think has never really performed at Chepstow. Last seen at Ascot, in a race that I think they were just getting his handicap marked down. Harry Cobden now takes over from Nick Schofield. He just needs to be kept involved. If he's there turning in, or within a few lengths, I think he'll win. And Kitty's Light can go back up in the handicap. Isn't going to win, for me, isn't going to win a Grand National. I would go the Berkshire National. I would then look at the Scottish National and the Bet365. That could be your 5 runs for the season done. No more than that. But I'm really keen on Kitty's Light tomorrow. And it'd be interesting to see what prices they do price up Kitty's Light. Moving on to the 245 at Ascot. I looked at this race and I initially was going to leave it alone. And I went back through it and I just had another check. And I was worried about Lucky Place, who's available at 13-2. And I was thinking, we've got him down for a handicap. As soon as he runs in a handicap, I'm going to be very keen on Lucky Place. That's on the basis that I think he's ahead of his mark of 140. I think he's like 145, maybe even better than that, maybe 150. That puts him into graded company, first of all. And I then went back through his form. He's actually got a second to Golden Ace, who is the favourite in this race. If we have a look, Golden Ace is currently 2-1. Lucky Place is 13-2. And I was like, okay, he got beat. He got beat by 3/4 of a length. Okay, I would instantly make that a bit closer in the betting then. He was giving away a whole stone, £14 that day. What does he have to give away tomorrow? 4, sorry. He has to give away 4. He's £8 better off for 3/4 of a length. I really like Lucky Place. I think he's very nicely handicapped. Do I think he's better than Golden Ace? Potentially. And he's only got to give away £4. Yeah, I think Lucky Place could improve past Golden Ace here. Especially with the weight pool now. Nicky Henderson's horses are flying. They're going really well, apart from Constitution Hill. And yeah, I think that's a better price than he should be. I think he should be a shorter price than that. And it's so often that I pick a horse that sometimes runs in a handicap. They might get beat in the handicap, and then they end up in a graded race and they go and win that. And it really annoys me because I've missed a horse because they ended up in a graded race, and I thought, well, I can't win that because they couldn't win the handicap for us. Or, you know, I've spotted a horse that I really like for a handicap. They end up running in a graded race and it wins. I'm not going to miss out on Lucky Place here. I think at 13-2 is a good price anyway. I think he can reverse the form with Golden Ace, and that may well be good enough to win this race. Blue King Daru is probably at the high, he's probably a 150 horse maybe, but he's got to give £6 away to Lucky Place. That probably puts them a lot closer as well. I don't think Thunderbox good enough. I don't think Salva's good enough, and I don't think Colonel Mustard's good enough. So yeah, I'm very keen to have a bet on Lucky Place. Moving on, 320, the handicap over 2 mile 1. Who do I like here? Again, if you've been following my emails, you'll know. Triple Trade. I'm really confused about his price. So the Tizard and Powell combination have just actually had a winner. First Impression, I think it was. It was First Confession maybe. Has just won at Ascot. Now, why do I like Triple Trade? Well, I think he's way too big at 9s. Currently running off a mark of 132. This time last year, he was actually running in this race off a mark of 135, so a £3 higher mark. He got beat 3 lengths by Boot Hill and Frere Dame. Now, Frere Dame looks incredibly tricky to get right. I know that horse is really well handicapped. Heidi Palin takes the ride. I haven't been impressed with her riding. I don't think she's that strong. And I think that might let Frere Dame down. If he gets there, you know, on the bridle and doesn't have to do anything, then it will annoy me. But I'm deserting Frere Dame and going for Triple Trade here. There was nothing between those two really last year. Triple Trade is £3 lower. Yes, Frere Dame is much lower. But I can't be getting on Frere Dame. It's like, that would be far too much of a cliff. After finishing third, behind Boot Hill and Frere Dame, Triple Trade went up in trip. Went off the 9-4 favourite, he went up to 2 mile 3 and he won. So he'd gone from finishing second to Dancing on My Own at Cheltenham, winning at Cheltenham, finishing third in this race, to then winning again at Ascot in the Howden off 135. Like, I couldn't see... There's like no negatives to that form. Okay, he's been a bit disappointing this season, but he did go up to a mark of 138. He ran off 138 disappointed, 138 disappointed-ish. He finished 8th at the Cheltenham Festival. He then went to Aintree of 137, 5th of 15. He then made his comeback at Cheltenham, finished 6th. But interestingly, this was the other thing that was really key for this horse. Read the write-up for Triple Trade. Held up in rear, some headway after 3 out. That was his return this season. Let's go and have a look at his effort when winning at Cheltenham, for example, when he beat Calico. His write-up here, in touch with leaders. What about when he was third in this race last year? It says Prominent led after 3 out. What about when he was second at Cheltenham? Midfield dropped to rear. So generally, he rides more. He's ridden more forward than what he was ridden at Cheltenham. I think Cheltenham was purely to get him a fitness run, to drop him in the handicap, to come here and try and win this race. It's a great race to win. It's 52 grand for the winner. They would much rather win that than the Howden, I think. What's the Howden worth? Just having a look. The Howden's worth 18. So this is definitely the target. The Howden's not. The Howden will be their backup plan if tomorrow doesn't go to plan. But with all of that said, he's 9 to 1. I thought we should be shorter than that. I'm really surprised at the price of Triple Trade. I know his form has been disappointing of late, but that was off higher marks. He's back to a mark that he can certainly get competitive off. So they are actually my selections for tomorrow. I do want to just talk about a few other races that I'm interested in. The first one is the Beginner's Chase at Punchestown, featuring Ballyburn. Now, obviously, Ballyburn's going to win that, but I'm very keen to watch a Castle de Motte. He's one of our horses to follow this year, and it's interesting to see them going over fences. If that can bring him to what they're expecting from him, this horse is going to end up in a really nice race somewhere and be really nicely handicapped. Last season, after moving to Willie Mullins, he went off 7 to 2 for a Betfair Hurdle, 7 to 1 for a Martin Pipe, 5 to 1 for a Premier Handicap at Aintree, and 8 to 1 for a listed handicap at Punchestown. He's expected to go well. Never really quite worked. If fences bring out more, obviously he's got some good form in France, so where they kind of use mini fences. If the fences bring out a bit more and really get him to show his true ability, he's going to end up really nicely handicapped. And this is a clever race from Willie Mullins for me, because they can sit him at the back, get him to jump well, come through late on, pick up a 4th or 5th sort of thing, because everyone's focused on Ballyburn. But definitely keep an eye out for a Castle de Motte and see how well he jumps. Moving on to the 210, the Morgana Hurdle, a 2 mile handicap, the 2 mile grade 1. Stateman, I think, wins this. I think Lossiemouth is held up at the back, runs on strongly, finishes second. I think Brighter Days Ahead is put in her place. I think Lossiemouth and Brighter Days Ahead do not end up in the Champion Hurdle. Stateman does, and Stateman should be favourite for the Champion Hurdle because of what's happening with Constitution Hill, not Lossiemouth. I'm really confident this should be Stateman. I think Stateman wins tomorrow. But I'm not having a bet in that or the Champion Hurdle at this stage. Moving on to the 150 at Haydock. What do I want to talk about this? I think Iroko wins it, purely on the basis that I'm hoping Trelawn is being saved for a handicap. I do actually think Trelawn is good enough to beat Iroko. I do think Trelawn wants to step up in trip though. But I think the horse could even challenge over this trip. It's just not knowing what Kim Bailey is doing. Is he trying to get this horse back to the Old Teamer? Is this his Old Teamer horse this year? There's just too many question marks about this race that I don't want to have a bet on Trelawn and then he gets beat by Iroko and then, you know, we've kind of wasted a bet. I don't want to back Iroko just in case Trelawn is actually trying here, because I think he could beat him. But I'm definitely keeping an eye on Trelawn for going forward. The Lancashire Chase, the Betfair Chase, sorry. I didn't know what to do here. Is Grey Dawning going to stay the trip? Probably. Could Royal Pagaille outstay him? Maybe. Would have wanted a bit softer ground. Hoisinor, Brave Man's Game. I kind of feel that maybe the bet in the race is actually Brave Man's Game, with Sam now taking over. He might give it a completely different ride and he might love it. I'm just worried that maybe Brave Man's Game might be past it or on his way down. Not necessarily past it. I mean, I'd love to have a horse of his ability. I just couldn't really find the angle into this race as to who I was really keen on. So it's definitely a race to watch though. I'd also like to see Brave Man's Game get beat but run well and then drop again in the handicap, because if you run him in a handicap, I think it could be interesting. And finally, the last race I want to talk about is the Copy Bet 1965 Chase, the Grade 2, purely on Phlegmatic is running here, and he's currently available at 40s. I'm really hoping they're not trying here. I really hope that they are getting this horse to drop in the handicap again. It's going to be tough because the horses around him, or that could well beat him, are much higher rated anyway. They might not get him dropped as much as they hope, but if they get him dropped another couple of pound, when he comes back for that Coral Trophy at Kempton, he's going to be very well handicapped. He's got a few pound to play with still. We've got to remember he finished 4th in it last year off 140. He's now rated 137. If it gets down to 135, I'd be very keen. He finished 2nd in it the year before, beaten a neck off 135. So that could well be what they're planning to do with Phlegmatic. Finish 4th or 5th here would be ideal for Phlegmatic. So yeah, a quick recap. Beat the Bat, I think his handicap mark is nice. I think he's been beaten by the right horses. This triple suit, more than what he got beat. This triple suit more compared to when getting beat by Dysart Enos. Currently available at 9-2. 2:30, I like Doyen Quest. I think the Skeltons are trying to win this, clearly. He is ahead of his mark, and if the 3-mile trip is actually what he's been wanting all this time, which it certainly looked like last time out, he could be well ahead of his mark still. If there is a fly in the ointment, something that could potentially beat him, it's the other one stepping up in trip, or the horse that's stepping up in trip massively. Patriotic, back up to 3-mile, does have a point-to-point win to his name, and was a very comfortable winner. Finished 5th in a race that's worked out really well, which did include Doyen Quest finishing 2nd. The 3:40, Lemilos off this handicap mark. I think they're trying here. It's worth a decent amount of prize money. I thought they could have saved this horse for the Coral Gold Cup. They're not. Hopefully that's because Dan and Harry Skelton have also got the winner with that, with Midnight River. The 2:05, Kitty's Light. The trip is just about fine. If it was over a bit further, I'd be even more keen on Kitty's Light. Back to the 140 mark that he's won the Bet365 Gold Cup and the Scottish National off. Lucky Place, I think, is good enough to beat Golden Ace off these revised terms after the effort that they, after the race that they had against each other last season. And with that in mind, I think Lucky Place is way too big at 13-2. And finally, my final bet is Triple Trade, who again has dropped in the handicap. He's back to Ascot, where he runs well. Joe Tizard and Brendan Powell have had a winner today. I think he's way too big at 9s.